change is the law of life, right? And this is something a lot of people can't really grasp or ever choose to become, right? So I've been thinking about this a lot lately, right? I was even asking ChatGPT, like, there's a lot of significant things that happen in our lives, right? Either younger, middle age, or even, late as you get into your 60s, let's say. And I was like, ChatGPT for, like, I was just saying, right? I'm like, how many people change from, like, either a traumatic experience or something that they're just fed up with and who they're becoming and how lazy they are or something around that broader nature. And, it gave me a different thing. It said 50 to 60% of people change minuscule things in their lives. It was saying something simple as, like, pretty much like clothing styles or like where they live or something like that. Then I remember the other thing it told me was 30 to 40% change other middle things. They said, for example, getting married or buying a home for the first time, right? The craziest answer I've ever seen from this, and I thought maybe, it was a little bit lower personally. I thought it was gonna be maybe like 3 to 5%, right? 10 to 20% of people actually change everything in their lives to become someone better and who they want to become, right? And I was really shocked by that. I was like, whoa, I was like, that's even better than I thought. And, it can't give me a definite answer, but it was like, I was like, just guesstimate off this, try to find a study from anywhere. Couldn't find one. But this is one thing I've been thinking about. I'm like, whoa, I'm like, that is kind of crazy to think about. Like, we all have different things that we had in our lives, right? Like I was just saying. And we can choose who we want to become and who we want to become. And that's just something I've always thought and dealt with my whole life, right? Ever since I've been self-improving since I was 18 years old. And, I'm 25 now, and it's just a lot of people don't want to change. And you look around you, they're making terrible decisions. It's like, I just don't understand how you can keep, the same thing over and over and over again. That's like literally the definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing expecting different results. And I don't understand that. There's a lot of people I know and talked with, right, or I'm friends with, or I know something about someone's life they were telling me about. And I was like, how many times can you get to the same thing over and over and over again? For example, relationships, right? Expecting it's going to change after being with the person 2 or 3 times, and you know their past and how they're not going to change. And it's just, man, I don't know. I've just been thinking a lot about it and just like, how can you do this to yourself? Like, does it really like give you, is it an addiction? That's what I think it is. I think that's what a person is, or maybe you're trying to expect something different. Like a lot of people who do drugs and alcohol, for example, they're it's the same thing. It literally is. That is an addiction, right? It's expecting the same thing just to feel that high or that dopamine hit. And I can't really stand it a lot, anymore. Like, there's people I talk with and such who just don't want to change. They want to be lazy. They want to just like not spend their money on certain things that help them get better. And don't get me wrong, I'm pretty cheap. I don't spend it on anything, right? I know people like go on vacations and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, you barely have enough money to do it, and you're just gonna drop it. It's like, oh, I got a credit card. It's like, dude, like, what are you talking about? And then they pay it off later. Like, I don't know. I always been like, I'd rather save all my money instead of like going on vacations. For example, I haven't been on a real vacation in probably 13 years, and since I was 12, and I went to like on the East Coast. We have New Jersey, right? We have the Jersey Shore. I've been there twice, and that was the last time I went was 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I want to say, for like a day. And I did that twice, a year, back and forth. I'm like, I don't really care for it to go there. Actually, it was 3 years ago, but it's just, I don't really care to waste money on stupid things like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand you want to get out with your friends and stuff like that and do things, try to, have something to just take a break from with life. I get that. You need certain things like it. But with the economy and how everything is now, dude, there's like no point. Especially with summer coming up as well. But, you look around at these people, you're just trying to see, like, okay, who are they becoming? Who do they want to become? And it seems like a lot of people I know just don't want to excel to become that other person they're meant to be. I don't know if it's fear holding them back. I don't know if it's just like, hey, I don't really care. I'm just going to let, the flow of life. And, I had a few people come reach out to me, and they're like, yo, man, they're like, I see you're always quiet and everything all the time now. You don't reach out as much. And it seems like you're just on the grind. Like, what are you doing? And, I had conversations with them, and I was telling them. And I was like, you got to take accountability, and you got to, what's the word? Not excess, but there's a different word. Excess. Yeah, I guess it's excess. Excess, like the things around you and who you are inside, right? Like, for many years, I've been, I've had like different events that happened to me. I would say 3 big events, right? And that changed my life, which was crazy, right? I remember graduating high school. Changed my life a little bit. During COVID, which sucked, right? COVID was like one big drastic event we all can talk about that always changed something about us. And I really did change society for the worse. I just made a video on that talking about things that happened during that time. But, yesterday I'm sitting there. Here's the thing I'll talk about. This is change of law of life, right? My favorite JFK quote. And I'm sitting there, I have my college thing. I just graduated college yesterday, which is really cool. I got my associate's degree. I know I'm 25 and such, but I'm not going to show the full thing, but I have it right here. And I'm sitting there, I'm excited. I was like, okay, I thought I was gonna be nervous or anything like that. I wasn't. I'm like, okay, let's just see how this goes. I sat down front row. I'm like, oh, this is actually gonna be really cool. I'm in the front row and everything. And we had a few like speeches that came up. You had the chairman and the dean and all that other stuff to start off. I really disliked the dean and the chairman's speech because I was like, dude, this is about us, not something political. They brought up political stuff and how they're not getting funding and all that stuff. It's like, first off, you get a lot of funding. That's mostly your kids there. It's a community college, right? And it's like, they get a lot of funding. I know people that actually, I know somebody on the higher up, we'll just say that, I know him. And he was telling me about it, like, they just don't have enough people coming there. He's like, it's not that. He's like, they're just bullshitting a little bit. But, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is like something you shouldn't be preaching to people about that. And it's like, we had the student speech come up. Greatest speech I've heard, right? I'm not gonna lie, because I went to a few college graduations. And the lady came up there, she's in her mid to late 40s, right? And I thought this was really cool, honestly. Like, she was talking about how, she changed her life around, and she wanted to help as much people as she can, so she signed up with all these programs at the college. And it was good to hear. She didn't bring race into it, no politics or nothing like that. She didn't say that nobody could stop me because I'm a black woman or anything. Nobody said, like, she didn't say anything like that. But I went to a college thing 3 years ago. My ex-girlfriend was graduating college. And this girl went up there saying how everyone's racist against her and they hate her because she's black, and she was just using a victimhood mentality. And I'm like, where's that going to get you in life? And that's a lot of people that I've met or I have been friends with where they have a victim mindset where they're just beating themselves up day after day after day, saying I'm the problem, or they blame people saying they're the problem. And it's like, where does this all end at one point? It's like, if you stay in the same cycle over and over again, be like, it's the world's fault, it's not my fault. It's like, where's that accountability come in? And I remember sitting at that graduation 3 years ago, and I was looking over at the couple over there shaking her head. I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm like, why is she going off since she's been... I'm like, that probably didn't even happen. I'm like, I think the majority of that, like, college was not dominantly black, but I think it was, like, at least almost 60-40, almost, I want to say. Like, 60-40, like, white and then compared to black. But it's just, like, just sitting there, I'm just like, why even make a speech about this? Why saying that they're trying to hold you back? I'm like, first off, we went to a good high school. Like, she talked about the high school she went to and how good it was. And then she goes up there and starts bitching about, like, how she was being, like, she had prejudice against her and that her dorm room was smaller. It's like, no, that happens freshman year. You get a shitty dorm room. And she's complaining about that on her freshman year because she graduated with a 4-year degree. It's just the same thing, right? It's just, we all have to recognize we can still become that person we picture, right? And that's something I recognized a long time ago. I'm like, last year, really, pretty much a year and a half ago, after I had like a really bad, breakup, for example, I was like, okay, let's take a part of everything. I was like, let's just, cut everything into pieces, like what I want to work on, who I want to become. And I did that. I was like, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. I was like, I do want to get back in the church eventually in the next year or two. I was like, I think that's something I really want to do. I'm in the midst of that right now. I'm trying to talk to a priest and everything like that. So I have that set up. I had this wonderful lady, right? I've known her for 4 years. And I met her, no joke, at where I used to work. And she's been like one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. She's in her 60s, right? And just wonderful. I was talking politics with a customer. They were asking my opinion on her. And I used to talk with different customers. She heard it. It was the first time she was in my store. And, she gave me her, like, card and everything like that. She's a business. And we just kept talking over the years. Like, she would come in. I talked to her for, like, a half an hour to an hour sometimes at the place where I used to work. And after the breakup, I reached out to her and everything like that. I told her I want to become a Catholic and stuff over the last year. So I've been talking a lot with her. I see her after church all the time now. It's really cool. And she actually bought me my first Bible. I was like, this is actually insanely cool for me. I just was shocked that somebody would care for me that much. I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is, like, really strange to me. I'm like, people actually really care. I'm like, I didn't really see that for a while. And people really do care for you out there. It's just, I think a lot of people don't recognize that now. And either you got to reach out to people or you could be isolated. I'm very isolated. I'm going to make a video on that a little bit later. But it's something that people really need to see. You just got to be careful who you walk with. I think that's something I've always thought about, like, over the last few days. I'm like, I've known people who walk with the wrong people, and it's just like, why would you do this to yourself over the last 10 years? Sure, you might have met somebody 10 years ago. It doesn't mean you should still be friends with them. I mean, if they're not giving you, like, anything, they're pushing you to be better, like, if they're still going out Friday night, and they don't want to change, they don't want to drive or anything like that, they're expecting just to get high every Friday night and play video games. Don't get me wrong, I love video games, don't get me wrong, but it's like, I'm saying you shouldn't be on this, like, every day. Like, it's just how it is. It's just, like, to an extent. Like, I have no problem with it. I'm not saying, like, you shouldn't be on it right after you're done work and stuff. That's fine. That's acceptable after everything's done. But if you don't even have a job and you're just come home doing that, because I know somebody who's like 28 years old doing that, and it's like, okay, so it's like, where are you getting yourself at? And it's not like I'm putting the guy down, but it's like, there's a point where you come in your life where you can't just sit there and just keep taking the same thing over and over again and be like, fuck this, fuck that. I don't know. I just never really liked that. I've seen so many people drag other people down too, which is really strange how other people do that. I'd never seen that before until about like a few years ago. I'm like, whoa! I was like, I didn't even realize that other people really have ulterior motives. That's what I'm saying. And you have to make a sacrifice, being like, look, I can't be around people, and there's nothing wrong with being isolated. Just a lot of people today can't handle that, which I kind of prefer to be isolated more than anything else. It's just it's a lot more peaceful. You don't have to stress about anything else in your life. And that was one of the changes I had to accept. I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit here and just try to hang out with people every Friday and Saturday night. I was like, I can just sit here, read some books, try to, or listen to podcasts, trying to learn more things, or just study things online. That's pretty much what I do. Like, I love history and politics and stuff like that. I graduated with honors in history. And I was like, we're just going to get back into school. That's one of the changes I did last year. I was working 80 hours a week going to school. And I was like, I'm just going to be, nuts about it. I was like, we're just going to stay locked in. And it really helped, truthfully. I don't even know how I managed school homework and all that projects and stuff I was doing. I really don't understand how I did it. But the other thing I also wanted to talk about as well is you have the power to become the person you always wanted to be, right? And I was telling this to someone the other day. I'm like, look, man, I was like, you still have the dream of becoming a business owner. I'm like, you can still do it. I'm like, you have the power. You're making good money. It's just you got to make that sacrifice on the days off you're tired and weak, and you just got to keep getting up and just keep doing the same thing over and over again, even though it is kind of crazy. Like, for example, the YouTube channel I'm doing here, it's just, I'm talking about a lot of social issues. I'm going to get into other things as well, but it's just something I just kind of want to talk about in society, because I really do like the social aspects of things, right? And I really just enjoy talking to people, for example, even though I can get tired of them pretty quickly after a while. Like, I hate, like, small talk. It's so annoying. Like, I'd rather talk for, like, 45 to, an hour. It makes it more fun. And, get to learn something from people. That's why I like the older people a lot. I know a lot of people hate on the boomers, but they're pretty cool still, I think. Anyway, the last thing I really want to just dive into, just, briefly, is stay away from drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes, smoking anything like weed and all that other shit. And that's something I've always been interested in, like with people who do this stuff all the time, is just that it's actually at a higher rate than usual, like the weed stuff at the moment. Alcohol's down, I know, like, I think, 70% since 1980, I want to say, that people consume. But the drug rates are higher. That's the thing I noticed. Like, it's really, like, sketchy to me. Like, I know the whole thing with Ibogaine right now, like with Joe Rogan that's at the White House. I don't trust that. It seems like what it does, it numbs your feelings on things. I don't know. There's not enough studies on it yet, but they're kind of trying it on military veterans. And it's just something that, sure, I understand, like, it might help long term, but I don't know. I feel like future, it's going to be something worse. I don't know. I'm not saying don't try it or something, but it makes me, wonder things. I'm like, it's kind of like the same thing with SSRIs. They numb your brain to the point of, like, they don't get rid of that pain, I guess, or feeling, but it numbs it for a while, and then it just comes back. And that's why a lot of people who are on SSRIs too, they're not the same person they were before. I've had somebody who was on SSRIs, right? And I knew this person, right? Different person. They had the SSRI stare. It was creepy the one time. And they're staring at the wall for like 10 minutes. And it's something that I just don't think anybody should ever really do. Now, I heard there is changes on it, like for people say they change their life for the better, but I have to disagree. I don't think that's a normal thing. I don't think it is a chemical imbalance. I think it's a bunch of bullshit that you get fed from the media or a doctor, which I don't really trust. I really just don't trust them, right? I had like this doctor, right? I went 3 years ago, last time I went to a, just for a thing to get checked up for blood thing I had to do. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, you want to get this vaccine, that vaccine. I'm like, I was like, I already had that. I'm like, why would I even get that anyway? And that's a vaccine I wouldn't recommend anyway at a young age anyway. But it was just like, I'm like, dude, I've had that years ago, I think. I'm pretty sure hepatitis B. I don't need it. And he's like, okay, you want to get this? You want to get that? I'm like, no. I'm like, there's no point. He's like, you want the flu shot at least? I'm like, no. I'm like, stop asking me questions like that. It was crazy for the first time. And, I was like, I'm not going to just accept something just for free. I'm like, a lot of people don't understand, like, when something's free, you're the product. It's kind of like Instagram or YouTube, how you're watching this right now. It's just, you have to make that change of being like, I have to get off social media, is what I want to end up with. You got to stay away from the social media thing. Like, Instagram is probably like one of the worst thing with TikTok. I got to be honest with you. It's still, people constantly judging themselves off there. I don't think people are mentally mature enough to stay on that like website for more than 10-15 minutes without judging themselves personally. They see all the cars and everything like that. Like, the craziest thing is, before I got on this video, I was on this room for like 3 minutes, right? As I was fixing my hair. I'm like, there's a party, I guess, last night or something, like one of the big streamers in California or something like that with Neon or all those people. I don't know them all like that. I don't know streamers. But they put it in like the description. I was reading it. And they were all just like recording content. Like, there is no parties anymore. Like, there is no society anymore with all the cameras around. And it's like, how far are we going to keep pushing ourselves, right? So you have to kind of be the change in your life. That's the only thing. Because a lot of people aren't coming here. No one's coming here to save you, truthfully. And that's something I learned hardcore. I was like, damn. I was like, this is true. Like, you have to become the change you want to see in the world. Um, but yeah, let me know what your thoughts and opinion. I know I was kind of rambling about certain things here. It's true. I just don't think people want to make the change anymore. If they do, they get scared and fearful. I don't know. I've lost all the fear for like just, I don't know if it's just going to church and stuff like that. I just seem to be making my life better. I've had a lot of ups and downs over the last like year and a half, but it's like, honestly, I'd rather just take the failure, screw it, and I get to learn from it. I'm just like, okay, let's just come back from this, see what I have to work on, right? That's what I'm going to do with the channel too, because I've been, like, I went back and watched all my videos, and I saw the way I was speaking and talking and stuff like that. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm kind of speaking like an asshole. I'm like, I just don't kind of like the way I was presenting myself. So I was like, going forward, I'm just going to change this, that, and the other thing. I was like, we're going to watch the language a little bit more, even though I kind of cursed, like, I think 4 times already in this video, but just something you have to do. You have to. It's like small changes you have to do and stuff like that. It's just something I've been working on. But let me know what you think about this. I'll get back to the comments. I know I've been taking my long time doing it. Just been so busy with everything. Since I'm done with school now, that I can definitely start doing more with the channel and everything. But yeah, let me know what you thought down below. We'll talk about other things going forward. But I think change is the law of life. It's JFK's best quote I think ever out there. Besides what you can do for your country. One of my favorite figures of all time in history. But yeah, let me know what you think. Peace out. Have a great one.